The smell of stale popcorn and rubber tires filled the air of the car dealership waiting room. I sat on the edge of the hard plastic chair, my knees bouncing up and down with nervous energy. I desperately needed this car. My old clunker had finally died on the highway 3 days ago, and I had just started a new job across town. Without a reliable vehicle, I was going to lose the position before I even received my first paycheck. I had picked out a modest, used sedan, nothing fancy, just something with 4 wheels and working brakes. The salesman, Coulter, had been so warm and friendly when I first walked in. He had shaken my hand and told me we would have me on the road in no time. But now, as he walked back toward his desk, his entire demeanor had shifted. The smile was gone, replaced by a look of awkward pity. He didn't sit down immediately. Instead, he slowly turned his large computer monitor around so I could see the screen. A giant red box dominated the display. Inside, in harsh white block letters, was the word, DECLINED. "Miss," Coulter said, his voice hushed so the family at the next desk wouldn't hear. "I don't know how to tell you this. Your credit score is 420. The system says you have $45,000 in defaulted credit card debt. Most of it has gone to collections." I felt the blood drain from my face. The room seemed to tilt. "That's impossible," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I don't have a credit card. I've never owned one. I pay for everything with my debit card. I've never borrowed money in my life." "The report lists 5 active accounts," he said gently, pointing to a list of banks on the screen. "All maxed out." Just then my phone buzzed violently in my lap. I looked down, my vision blurry with panic. It was a text from my best friend, Halston. The screen lit up with her name and a string of emojis. "Just booked us a girls' trip to Cabo. My treat. Clinking glasses, don't worry about the flights, I handled it." I stumbled out of the dealership in a complete daze. The bright afternoon sun felt mocking. I sat in my uncle's lone truck for 10 minutes, just breathing, trying to make sense of the numbers Coulter had shown me. $45,000. That was more money than I made in a year. I drove home with a pit in my stomach, the kind of dread that makes your hands numb. As soon as I got through my front door, I opened my laptop. My fingers shook so badly I mistyped my password twice. I pulled up a free credit report site and typed in my social security number. When the page loaded, I let out a strangled sob. The salesman hadn't been lying. There were 5 credit cards opened in my name. One was a premium travel card, another was a luxury department store card, and the others were high-limit bank cards. I clicked on the Details tab for the most recent one. The billing address was not my apartment. It was an address I knew better than my own. It was Halston's apartment in the trendy downtown district. I didn't call her. I didn't text back about Cabo. I got back in the truck and drove straight to her place. I had a spare key. We had been best friends since our sophomore year of high school. We shared everything, clothes, secrets, dreams, or at least I thought we did. When I let myself into her apartment, the air smelled like expensive vanilla candles and fresh flowers. I heard the shower running in the bathroom. Her purse, a designer bag that cost more than my rent, was sitting on the kitchen island. My heart hammered against my ribs as I reached for it. I dug past the designer sunglasses and the lip gloss until my fingers brushed against cool plastic. I pulled out a sleek black card, Platinum Rewards. The name embossed on the front was Maylee, my name. But when I flipped it over, the signature on the strip didn't match my handwriting at all. It was Halston's distinct, loopy script, signed with a flourish. I stood frozen in the middle of her kitchen, clutching the black card like it was a weapon. The sound of the shower stopped. A few moments later, the bathroom door opened. Halston walked out wrapped in a fluffy white towel, steam billowing out behind her. She looked radiant, fresh, and completely unburdened by the weight of the world. When she saw me, her face lit up with a smile, but it faltered when her eyes dropped to the card in my hand. I waited for the shame. I waited for her to crumble, to cry, to apologize for ruining my financial life. Instead, she just rolled her eyes and sighed, as if I had caught her eating the last cookie. "Maylee, don't look at me like I killed someone," she said, walking past me to the fridge to grab a sparkling water. She cracked the can open, the sound echoing in the silent room. "You stole my identity," I whispered, my voice shaking so hard it hurt. "You opened 5 cards in my name. You have $45,000 of debt on my file. Halston, I couldn't buy a car today. I was humiliated." She took a sip of her drink and leaned against the counter. "Relax, Maylee. My credit is just in a rough patch right now. I'm actually building yours. I pay the minimums. Well, mostly. Consider it a loan between sisters. It's not a big deal." She dismissed a felony like she had borrowed a sweater without asking. She didn't care that she had destroyed my ability to rent an apartment or get a job. She only cared that she could keep living her lie. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw her expensive sparkling water against the pristine white wall. But suddenly, a memory flashed in my mind. I listened to a lot of true crime podcasts on my commute, and the #1 rule was always, get it on tape. If it wasn't recorded, it was just her word against mine, and Halston was a master manipulator. I slipped my hand into my hoodie pocket, my thumb hovering over my phone's screen. I tapped the voice memo app and hit the big red record button. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my voice and sound more confused than angry. "So," I said, looking at her directly, "you admit you opened these 5 cards in my name without asking me. You signed the applications with my name." Halston sighed, walking over to her velvet sofa and sitting down to apply expensive lotion to her legs. "Yes, Maylee, I had to. Prescott thinks I'm debt-free. If he knew about my old cards, he'd freak out. I'll pay it all off after the wedding with the gift money. Don't be a drama queen. It's temporary." "You used my social security number," I pressed, needing her to say it. "You left your tax forms here last year," she shrugged, rubbing the lotion into her skin. "It wasn't hard. Seriously, stop looking so tragic. We're going to Cabo. It's going to be fun." I stopped the recording. I had it. The confession was clear, arrogant, and undeniable. I drove straight from Halston's luxury apartment to the nearest police station. The building was cold, smelling of floor wax and old coffee. I sat across from a man named Detective Harlan. He looked tired. His desk buried under mountains of paperwork. I explained everything to him. I told him about the car dealership, the cards, and the recording I had just taken. "We can file a report," Harlan said, rubbing his temples. "But I have to be honest with you, Miss, these investigations take months. The fraud division is backed up with cases just like this. And the moment you file this, the banks will freeze the accounts immediately. The cardholder, your friend, will know instantly." I was about to say, "Do it, arrest her now." I wanted her to feel the shame I felt at the dealership. I wanted her world to stop just like mine had. But while I was sitting there, my phone pinged. It was an Instagram notification. Halston had just posted a new story. I clicked it. It was a boomerang video of her and her wealthy fiancé, Prescott, spinning around in front of a massive, beautiful house in the wealthy part of town. The caption read, "House hunting with Bay, house ring we found the one, dream home blessed." I stared at the screen. If I reported her now, she'd get a slap on the wrist. Prescott, who was rich and naive, would probably pay off the debt to save face and hush it up. She would win again. A dark, cold idea began to form in the back of my mind. "Actually," I said to Detective Harlan, standing up slowly, "I need to gather more evidence first. I'm not ready to file today." The next morning, I called in sick to my current job. I couldn't focus anyway, and went to see a lawyer named Zayla. She came highly recommended by a coworker who had gone through a messy divorce. Zayla was sharp, with eyes that seemed to see right through you and a bob cut that looked like it could cut glass. She listened to my story without interrupting, tapping a silver pen against her notebook. When I finished, she looked at the timeline I had written down. She looked at the debt amount. "You have a choice, Maylee," Zayla said, her voice calm and calculated. "If you report it now, it's a standard dispute. It's messy, but it gets resolved eventually. However, she won't suffer much. Her fiancé will likely bail her out to avoid a scandal before the wedding." "I don't want her bailout out," I said quietly. She laughed at me. She treated my life like a game. Zayla nodded slowly. "If she is applying for a mortgage, that changes the leverage completely. Mortgage lenders are incredibly strict. They check credit at the start of the process, and they check it again right before closing. So, I asked. So, Zayla smiled, a cold, strategic smile that made me feel safe for the first time in 24 hours. If you wait until she needs her credit for something massive, like a mortgage, the fraud alert will nuke the entire deal. It won't just freeze the cards, it will flag her file for active criminal investigation during the underwriting process. No bank on earth will lend to her. The deal will implode. I decided to play the long game. It was the hardest thing I had ever done. I had to pretend everything was fine. I had to be the supportive best friend while knowing she was stealing from me every single day. I had to watch her live a life of luxury funded by my future. That weekend, we went to brunch at a trendy spot downtown. Halston ordered the most expensive items on the menu: lobster Benedict, truffle fries, and bottomless mimosas. She was glowing, talking about wedding plans and the house they were looking at. When the bill came, she pulled out the black card. My card. "It's on me," she chirped, flashing a dazzling smile at the waiter. "Put it on the platinum." I smiled back, sipping my drink, though it tasted like bile in my throat. "Thanks, Halston, you're so generous." Every time she swiped that card, she wasn't just buying eggs or champagne. She was adding another line item to the police report. She was digging her own grave, one transaction at a time. I kept the receipt. I kept every text she sent about her shopping sprees. I was building a mountain of evidence, and she was handing me the bricks with a smile on her face. A few weeks later, Prescott officially proposed. The engagement party was held at a rooftop bar downtown. It was lavish and over the top, exactly Halston's style. There were ice sculptures and a live jazz band. Everyone was drinking champagne and toasting to the happy couple. I was standing near the buffet, trying to look invisible, when Petra, Prescott's mother, cornered me. Petra was a formidable woman who wore pearls that cost more than my student loans and looked at everyone like she was inspecting them for dust. She placed a hand on my arm. "Maylee," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "I just wanted to say how happy I am that Halston is such a grounded girl. Prescott has worked so hard for his money. It's a relief he found someone financially responsible. You know how some girls are these days, just looking for a payout." I choked on my appetizer. I had to cough to cover a hysterical laugh. "Yes," I managed to say, wiping my mouth with a napkin. "Halston is certainly resourceful with finances." I looked across the room. Halston was showing off her massive diamond ring to a group of friends. She was wearing a stunning silver designer dress. I recognized it. I had received an email alert for a $600 purchase at Saks Fifth Avenue on Tuesday. She was wearing my credit score. 3 months passed. The waiting was agony. I was driving a beat-up loaner car from my uncle because I couldn't buy my own. I ate instant noodles and peanut butter sandwiches to save money while Halston lived like a queen on my dime. I watched my credit score drop another 10 points. Then the call finally came. "Maylee," Halston squealed into the phone, so loud I had to pull it away from my ear. "We found it, the perfect mansion in the hills. It has a pool, a guest house, a wine cellar, everything." "That's amazing," I said, gripping the phone tight until my knuckles turned white. "Prescott is putting down the deposit today," she continued, her voice breathless with excitement. "It's huge, $50,000 just for the earnest money, but we need both of our incomes to qualify for the loan size we want. My credit is looking so good thanks to, you know." "I'm happy for you," I said. My heart was pounding so hard I thought she could hear it through the phone. This was it. This was the moment Zayla had told me to wait for. She needed a clean credit check to close on this house. She was leveraging the fake history she built on my name to secure a multi-million-dollar loan. A few days later, Halston called again. Her voice was sweeter than usual, like syrup, which always meant she wanted something. "Hey, bestie," she started, the charm turned up to 11. "So, the mortgage broker said my score is good, but it could be just a tiny bit higher to get the absolute best interest rate. Can you do me a huge favor?" "What is it?" I asked, staring at the blank wall of my bedroom. Can you add me as an authorized user on your old debit account? The one you've had since we were 16. It has such a long history, it would give me a boost." The audacity was breathtaking. She had maxed out fraudulent cards in my name, ruined my credit score, and now she wanted to attach herself to the one clean account I had left. She wanted to drain me completely dry. "Sure, babe," I lied, my voice steady. "I'll call the bank today and set it up." I didn't call the bank, I didn't add her, but letting her believe I did made her feel secure. It made her feel untouchable. She thought she had me completely under her thumb, a quiet little mouse she could use and discard. I met with Zayler again to go over the timing. I was nervous. My hands were shaking as I held my coffee cup. I didn't want to mess this up. One wrong move and Halston could slip away. "How does the mortgage process work exactly?" I asked her. "When do I strike? Is it now?" Zayla shook her head and drew a timeline on a piece of paper. "Not yet. They are in the underwriting phase now. The bank is combing through their finances. They pulled credit at the beginning, which is why she thinks she's safe. But there is a final step." She circled a date in red ink. "It's called the clear to close phase," Zayla explained. "About a week or so before the actual signing, the lender does a final refresh. They check to make sure no new debt has been taken on and that the scores haven't dropped. That final pull is the kill switch. If the report shows identity theft and fraud investigation on that day, the system locks down automatically." "So we wait for the closing date," I said, understanding. "We wait," Zayla confirmed, her eyes sharp. "Let them pack their boxes. Let them hire the movers." As the closing date approached, Halston got nervous about the cash required for the down payment and closing costs. She stopped spending her own money entirely to hoard cash for the bank. Instead, she went on a reckless spending spree with the cards she had opened in my name. She needed furniture for a house she didn't own yet. She wanted everything to be perfect and brand new. My phone started blowing up with alerts, vibrating every few hours. 2000 at West Elm, asterisk asterisk. 2000 at West Elm, asterisk asterisk. 5,000 at Restoration Hardware. 800 at Williams-Sonoma, asterisk asterisk. 800 at Williams-Sonoma, asterisk asterisk. 1,200 at Crate and Barrel. She was maxing them out completely. She figured that once the house closed, she would figure it out later. Or maybe she planned to never pay them and let my credit rot forever. I printed every single notification. I organized them in a thick binder. The total fraud was now pushing $55,000. She wasn't just stealing, she was looting my life with a smile. 10 days before the scheduled closing. This was the window Zayla gave me. The timing had to be precise. I walked into the police station with a heavy canvas tote bag. Detective Harlan looked up from his desk and recognized me immediately. He looked surprised to see me back. "You're back," he said, setting down his coffee. "Ready to file." "I'm ready," I said, my voice firm. I placed the heavy binder on his desk with a thud. It contained the recording of her confession, the copies of the credit card statements with her address, the photos from her Instagram of her wearing the clothes she bought with the cards, and a sworn affidavit of forgery. "I am filing a formal identity theft report," I stated clearly, looking him in the eye. "I want to press charges for credit card fraud, identity theft, and grand larceny." Harlan opened the binder and flipped through the pages. He whistled low. "You came prepared. This isn't just a report, this is a conviction. This is a slam dunk." He typed up the report. I signed it. He handed me the official case number. It felt heavier than the paper it was printed on. As soon as I left the station, I went to a quiet coffee shop and opened my laptop. It was time for the second part of the plan, the part that would actually stop the mortgage. I logged into the websites of the 3 major credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. With the police report number in hand, I had special legal rights. I placed an extended fraud alert on my file. Then, I uploaded the police report to dispute every single account Halston had opened. The law is very specific about this. When a valid identity theft report is filed, the bureaus must block the information from the credit report within 4 days. Usually, they do it much faster to avoid liability. I watched the screen as I hit submit on the final dispute. The trap was set. The bureaus would lock the file down. The accounts would be flagged as fraudulent. The score she was relying on would vanish into thin air. 2 days later, Miller, the mortgage broker, sat down at his glass desk to finalize the paperwork for Halston and Prescott. They were scheduled to close the following Tuesday. The movers were booked. The keys were ready. He needed to run the final, soft pull on their credit to issue the clear-to-close document. He whistled a tune as he clicked the button on his computer, expecting to see the same strong numbers he saw 2 months ago. Instead, his screen lit up with red warnings. The file for Halston came back with a massive error message. Critical alert, active fraud investigation. Furthermore, the 5 credit card accounts that Halston had claimed were hers, the ones that gave her a credit history and boosted her debt-to-income ratio, were now marked disputed identity theft. They were removed from the calculation entirely. Without those accounts, Halston had no credit history. Miller stared at the screen, confused. He refreshed the page, but the red box remained. He picked up the phone. I was at my desk at my new job, trying to focus on a spreadsheet when my phone rang. I looked at the screen. It flashed, Halston. I stared at it, watching the name dance on the screen. I didn't answer. I let it ring until it went to voicemail. It rang again immediately, and again. Then the texts started coming, one after another. Maylee, pick up. What is going on? Miller just called me. He says there's a fraud alert on the credit report. He says the accounts are locked. What did you do? Call me now. This is an emergency. I turned my phone over and took a calm sip of my lukewarm coffee. The silence was beautiful. I let her panic. I let her feel the walls closing in, just like I had felt in the car dealership. An hour later, my phone rang again. This time it wasn't Halston, it was Prescott. I liked Prescott. He was a bit dim and definitely too trusting, but he was a nice guy. He didn't deserve this, but he was collateral damage in Halston's war. I answered the phone. Maylee, he sounded frantic, breathless. Halston is freaking out. She says you hacked her identity. The bank is saying she stole your identity. What is happening? We're supposed to close on Tuesday. The movers are coming Monday. I didn't hack anything, Prescott, I said, my voice calm and steady. I just reported the truth to the police. She says it's a mistake, he pleaded, his voice cracking. She says you're jealous because we're buying a house. Prescott, I said gently, do me a favor, go to her purse. Find the black platinum rewards card, the one she uses for everything. Okay, hold on, he said. I heard rustling in the background, then a muffled argument. I have it. Read the name on the front, I said. There was a long silence. It says Maylee. Now ask her why she signed the back of it, I said. Miller, the broker, was a strict, by-the-book man. He didn't mess around with fraud, especially not with federal lending laws. Once the alert was triggered, he had to do his due diligence. He ran the numbers again, stripping away the fraudulent accounts. He realized that Halston had been lying about her financial health for years. Without my stolen credit history propping her up, her actual credit score was in the low 300s. She had a history of unpaid utility bills and bounced checks from college that she had hidden behind the activity of the stolen cards. She had zero creditworthiness. She was a high-risk borrower. Miller didn't hesitate. He sent the official denial letter that afternoon. The loan was denied due to misrepresentation by the borrower and inability to verify creditworthiness. The house was gone. The deal was dead. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. Because the financing fell through due to fraud, specifically, the borrower lying on the application about their debts and assets, the contract for the house was voided. But it got worse. The purchase agreement had a specific clause about buyer default. Because the failure to close was due to Halston's intentional deception and criminal activity, they were in breach of contract. Prescott lost his earnest money deposit. $50,000 of his hard-earned savings, gone in a blink. He called me later that night, furious, not at me but at the situation. "They kept the money, Maylee, 50 grand. My mom is going to kill me. That was the down payment." "I'm sorry, Prescott," I said, and I actually meant it. "But you should ask Halston where that money went. Or better yet, ask her about the furniture she bought for a house you don't own. She spent thousands on sofas you have nowhere to put." The next day, Halston tried to pretend none of it was happening. She was in deep denial. She went to her usual nail salon to get a manicure, perhaps to soothe her nerves or keep up appearances. She walked up to the counter to pay. She handed them the black card. "Declined," the nail tech said, looking at the screen. "Try it again," Halston snapped, annoyed. "It's a platinum card. It has a high limit." "Declined," the tech repeated, louder this time. The door to the salon opened with a jingle. Detective Harlan walked in, followed by 2 uniformed officers. I wasn't there, but the nail tech told me about it later in vivid detail. "Halston," Harlan said, his voice carrying through the quiet salon. "We have a warrant for your arrest for credit card fraud, identity theft, and forgery." She stood up, knocking over a display of polish bottles. "You can't do this. I'm getting married. I'm an influencer." "Not anytime soon," Harlan said. He handcuffed her right there in front of her nail tech and the other customers. She was dragged out, screaming my name, accusing me of ruining her life. Halston used her one phone call from jail to call me. I looked at the phone and declined the call. Then Petra, Prescott's mother, called me. She sounded hysterical, her composure completely shattered. "How could you do this?" she demanded, her voice shrill. "You had her arrested. Over money. We could have paid you back, Maylee. Prescott has money. You ruined her life over a few credit cards. You ruined the wedding." I felt a flash of anger hotter than anything I had felt before. "It wasn't about the money, Petra," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "She looked me in the eye and told me she was building my credit while ruining my future. She was going to let me go bankrupt so she could have a pool. She let me get rejected for a used car while she shopped for mansions. It wasn't about the money. It was about the betrayal." "She's your best friend," Petra cried. "No," I said coldly. "She's a criminal, and now everyone knows it." I hung up the phone and blocked the number. Prescott went to visit Halston in the holding cell the next morning. I don't know exactly what was said, but I know he finally saw the police report. Harlan had shown him the evidence. He saw the dates. He saw that while he was working overtime to save for their future, she was stealing from her best friend to buy shoes and handbags. He realized the debt-free girl he loved was a mirage. She was a parasite who had lied to him every single day of their relationship. He broke up with her right there in the visitation room, separated by the glass. He demanded the engagement ring back, which was currently sitting in the property bag at the jail. A week later, his lawyer served Halston with a civil lawsuit for the lost $50,000 house deposit. He was going to sue her for every penny she had cost him, and he had the money to hire the best lawyers in the city. Halston eventually made bail. Her mother had to put up her own house as collateral to get her out, but Halston had nowhere to go. Prescott had kicked her out of their shared apartment. He changed the locks and left her clothes in garbage bags on the curb. She tried to go back to her old apartment, the one where I had found the card, but there was a massive problem. I did some digging with Zayla and found out that lease was in my name too. She had forged my signature on that lease a year ago because her credit was too bad to qualify for the luxury building. Since the lease was in my name, I had the legal right to terminate it. I called the landlord and explained the identity theft. I sent him the police report. He canceled the lease immediately to avoid any legal trouble. Halston was homeless. She had to move back in with her parents in a small, dusty town 3 hours away, leaving behind her influencer, life, and her friends in the city. In the weeks that followed, I worked closely with Zayla to scrub my credit report. It was actually easier than I thought, thanks to the undeniable evidence we had gathered. Because I had filed the police report and caught the fraud in real time, The debt was legally transferred back to Halston. The banks couldn't come after me. They had to go after her. I watched my credit monitoring app like a hawk. One by one, the red flags disappeared. The $45,000 debt vanished from my name as if it had never been there. My score didn't just recover, it bounced back. Because I had paid off my student loans on time and had no other bad marks, my score jumped from a terrifying 420 to a solid 750 in a single week. I was free. The weight that had been crushing my chest was gone. 6 months later, the sun was shining brightly, the kind of day that makes you feel like anything is possible. I walked back into the same car dealership where this nightmare had started. I saw Coulter, the same salesman. He was standing by the coffee machine, looking bored. He did a double take when he saw me, clearly remembering the crying girl from months ago. "Miss Maley," he asked, looking wary, "are you okay?" "I'm better than okay, Coulter," I smiled, feeling a genuine sense of peace. "I'd like to try again." We sat down at his desk. I picked out a newer model this time, a nice blue sedan with low mileage and heated seats. He typed in my information, looking nervous. He hit the enter key and waited, wincing slightly. Then his face lit up. "Approved," he said, turning the screen around. "Tier 1 credit, best interest rate available." I signed the papers. I took the keys. As I drove off the lot, I rolled the windows down and turned the music up. I took the long way home, driving past the mansion in the hills that Halston had almost bought. There was a moving truck in the driveway. A nice family with a dog was moving in. Halston was gone. The debt was gone. And as I merged onto the highway, driving into my future, I had never felt lighter. I had learned to be ruthless, but I had also learned that the truth, when timed perfectly, is the most powerful weapon of all.